I'll let you kind of take the reins here. So we're both in a chair because I don't want to disappoint. Someone's like, I tuned in and I saw no yoga from UDP. I didn't see downward dying squirrel. So we could kind of close out and just kind of let you lead. For those that are in Clubhouse listening, you can follow along as well. I'll let Jen kind of take it from here.
Yeah, so you don't need to be able to see. So if you're in Clubhouse, that's all right. If you choose to see, you can. If you don't want to look at us, then you can tilt your screen up. So if you'd like, you might find a seat. You could maybe be seated in a chair, or you might choose to sit on the floor. And maybe if you're seated, you might lengthen your spine. So you might be lengthening your spine. And perhaps if you're lengthening your spine, you might notice your breath. I just noticed I was holding my breath. So if you notice that, one option might be to invite the breath back in and maybe turning your head to one side. So if you'd like, you might turn your head to one side, maybe turning it part of the way, or perhaps turning it as far as you can. You have a choice. And if you've turned your head to one side, you might bring it back to center and perhaps switching sides. So you might turn your head to one side, maybe turning it part of the way, or maybe turning it as far as you can. You're in charge. And if your head is turned to the side, you might return back to center and perhaps moving your shoulders. So one way to move your shoulders might be to roll them, maybe rolling them forward or maybe rolling them back. Maybe noticing the breath. And if you've been moving your shoulders, you can release them back to center. And perhaps reaching one arm up. So you might lift one arm up to the sky and maybe staying here. So you might have one arm lifted to the sky and perhaps staying there, or you might lean to the side. So you might be leaning to one side, maybe placing your bottom arm on your leg, or if you're sitting on a chair or couch, maybe on that piece of furniture. Perhaps noticing some sensation in the side of your body. You might notice it somewhere else. You might not notice any sensation at all. And if you're leaning to the side, you might lift back up to center. And if your arm is lifted, you might lower your arm. And you're welcome to switch sides. So you could reach your other arm up. So you might have one arm lifted and maybe staying here. Another option could be to lean to the other side. So you might be leaning to one side, perhaps noticing the breath. And if you're leaning to one side, you might lift back up to center. And perhaps turning your body to one side. So you might turn your body to one side, maybe placing your opposite arm on the leg that you're turning towards. So you might be turning to one side, maybe noticing some sensation in your back as you turn. You might notice it somewhere else, or maybe not at all. And if you're turning to one side, you could come back to center and perhaps switching sides. So you might turn to the other way. So maybe turning to one side, perhaps with your opposite arm on the leg that you're turning towards. Maybe noticing some sensation across your back. You might notice it somewhere else, or maybe not at all. And if you're turned to one side, you might come back to center and perhaps folding forward. So, one way to fold forward might be to lean forward, placing your forearms on your legs. So, you might have your feet flat on the floor and you could place your forearms on your legs. Another option might be to fold so that your hands touch the floor. So, you might reach down so that your hands touch the floor, maybe noticing the breath. As you notice your breath, one option is to take your feet a little farther apart, maybe your knees a little farther apart to make room for your breathing. And if you're folded forward, you might lift back up to center. And perhaps pausing here, you might take a moment, maybe noticing your breath, maybe noticing movement in your belly or chest as you breathe, or maybe noticing something else, or maybe nothing at all. Thank you for letting me guide your practice. Peace.
That was amazing. Thank you, Jen.